What's up guys, Lucky Locks here, welcome back to another video, and before we get started today, I'm just going to give a quick shout out to my BetMMA.tips page. So I always put this in the description. I'm not sure if people are aware of it or not, but if you go to BetMMA.tips/luckylocks, you will find all of my bets, and they are all graded and third-party verified. So just in case you guys are ever wondering what I'm betting on, how I'm doing, all that stuff, you can go right there. It is all free of charge at the moment. Once I have, more experience, more longevity with third-party tracking, I might move them to paid picks, but for now it's 100% free, so you got nothing to lose heading over there and checking them out. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Kicking off the card, we have a heavyweight bout between Rizvan, Kuniev, and Edivan Santos. Not too many heavyweight bouts so far in Contender Series, so this should be a good one. Kuniev is a 28-year-old Dagestani fighter training at Goret's fight team. That's a great look. So many talented training partners to work with there. Just a lot of talented guys in the room. The list really goes on. Ramzan Ameev, Rashid Magomedov, you could name a whole bunch of Russian fighters that are training there. It's a great camp. He is 10-2-1 as a pro, 11-2 as an amateur. Very successful there in both national and European competition. Just really great amateur experience to have, and I believe that that's benefited him so far in his pro career. Kuniev has not lost in 6 years. Neither loss was to bad competition. He had a loss to Darko Stosic, who is a former UFC fighter, current KSW fighter, and Justin Big Pretty Willis, who is a UFC fighter training at American Kickboxing Academy. And, that's just good experience. If anything, I don't hold those losses against him. He was probably still around 22 years old when he had those fights. So, yeah, you can't really hold that against him too much. Kuniev is a strong grappler, as you might expect. Very strong in the clinch, very suffocating and grinding style. Not the most exciting fighter, but definitely very effective. He's okay on the feet. If it's not going his way, he'll just clinch up and hold you against the cage while he hunts those takedowns. Santos, on the other hand, an impressive record of 12-2 with what appears to be a 100% finish rate. Some of the methods of victory aren't listed on tap. His combined opponent record, though, 31-87, so I'd say that represents a pretty poor level of competition. In his last 3 fights, his combined opponent record was 2-35. He fought a guy that was 1-12, then a guy that was 1-13, then a guy that was 0-10, so not the greatest competition level, I'll be honest. And his footwork worries me a little bit. I just don't know if he's going to be able to prevent Kuniev from getting in on his hips. I think that Santos is going to be susceptible to being held up against the cage for long periods of time. He does have long arms and can put together some combinations when he backs his opponents up. It's just pretty hard to get a read on how good he is when the competition level is so low, so I'm going with Kuniev here. I think that Kuniev is more technical, I think that he's stronger, and I think that he will be able to fight his game plan and probably pick up a win in this spot. The next fight of the night will be in the lightweight division, and this is between Lucas Almeida and Daniel Zellhuber. Almeida is a 12-0 Brazilian prospect. He'll be the older guy here at 30 years old. He will be smaller but more dense physically. He has a 100% finish rate, 8 knockouts, 4 submissions. Haven't seen him in the cage since the end of 2019, where he won the Jungle Fight 155-pound belt with a third-round knockout, and multiple times during that fight he created fight-altering sequences which almost resulted in stoppages. He's a very aggressive fighter, very aggressive grappler on the mat as well. He just has vicious ground and pound too when he's down there. He's one of those Brazilian Terminators. He comes out for blood every fight. I love the sense of urgency that he fights with while he hunts for a finish. And looking at Daniel Zellhuber, he is 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, so he's huge for lightweight. Super young at 22, 11-0 record, giving me shades of Michael Morales from last week. And Zellhuber has an 82% finish rate, 7 knockouts, 2 submissions. He is a very technical striker and just has beautiful high kicks. The snap on his kicks is lovely, good feints, good footwork, just really excellent standing. He's huge at 155, so he barely has to lift his leg to hit you in the head, and he goes to that head kick quite often. He flits around on the outside, he has a lot of counters, a lot of quick strikes. I see him probably surrendering the center of the cage to Almeida, at least early. Zellhuber's not really a fighter that commands the center or needs the center, and I'm going to lean Zellhuber for the win here. There's little doubt in my mind that he is the better prospect. It's just going to be about, can he put it all together on the day or not. Probably will be his toughest matchup to date. If the line continues to move towards Zellhuber, a dog shot on Almeida might not be a bad take. I see Almeida being the aggressor early and having a strong first round. It's a really close matchup, but I think I'm going to go towards Zellhuber here just based on the striking acumen and also the size. The next matchup will be at 185, and this is a matchup between Jeffery and Caio Borralho. Jeffery is 6'2" with a 74.5-inch reach. So he's a big guy, 6-0 amateur, 10-2 pro, so 2 losses. One of them was to Sean Brady, undefeated UFC fighter on CFFC, that was 6 years ago. And then Brendan Allen, another UFC fighter that was on Dana White's Contender Series, that was 2 years ago. Jeffery has a win over Bruno Assis, a guy we've seen on Contender Series, a guy we've seen on Brave, a guy who beat Jailton Almeida, who we just saw in the main event of Week 3 Contender Series, and he actually picked up a contract. So Jeffery also finished Ultimate Fighter contestant and current UFC fighter Andre Petrosky on LFA. Most recently just won the 185-pound belt in CFFC, beating Colin Huckbody, who's another good fighter. Jeffery's able to stay calm in tough situations. He's a difficult guy to hold down, and he's active off his back when it goes there. Andre Petrosky had a really tough time holding him down, and he's a really good wrestler, right? Petrosky did have a little more success standing than I'd like to see, if I'm going to back Jeffery in this spot. I think Jeffery was probably especially wary of the takedown shot, so it made him a little less sharp with the striking defense. He's able to take a shot, though. He's a pretty durable guy. I don't mean to disparage the win at all, but Petrosky was definitely winning that before gassing out. Cardio is obviously a tool in its own right, but I would have liked to see Jeffery probably have a little bit more success standing there. But yeah, Jeffery's pretty strong in the clinch, really long arms to help him out, loves to get his double unders. Petrosky is obviously a phenomenal athlete with a prestigious wrestling pedigree, so I feel like that wasn't a great matchup for Jeffery's kind of grinding style. That's kind of his go-to if he isn't having the success that he wants on the feet at distance, which he definitely wasn't against Petrosky. And, he still found a win, so all credit to him there. He likes to add in the knees in those exchanges. Had a ton of success in the clinch against Huckbody in the CFFC title fight. And Huckbody is a guy who kind of leans on that as well, so it shows you the level of Jeffery. Looking at Borralho, he's the middleweight champ in Future FC. Put together 3 nice wins there. Just had a grappling bout with Jailton Almeida, who we can't stop talking about in this breakdown. And he lost to Almeida in that grappling bout, but, that's just a fun fact to add in. And if Borralho wants to grapple with Jeffery, it could be trouble. I see Jeffery being the stronger of the two. Striking-wise, Borralho does have 3 knockouts, but none in the last 2 years, and there was 4 fights over that span. Fought a pretty decent competition over his last 3 fights, had 1 sub and 2 decisions. The guy submitted was definitely the worst of the 3 opponents, but still an impressive performance in his Future FC debut. I'm not sure how high his finishing upside is against a guy like Jeffery. Jeffery could be a tough guy to outpoint. I think that he could potentially have some success in the striking, though, because he looks pretty decent there. He throws some flashy stuff, some flying knees, and if Petrosky was able to have success striking with Jeffery, I think the Borralho definitely could too. I'm going to lean Jeffery to win. I don't love this fight betting-wise. Jeffery opened up like minus 275, and you can get him around. He was around minus 160-ish, I think, right now. You could get him at minus 140, actually, best odds right now. And yeah, I don't really think that's a bad line. I mean, minus 275, did I want to bet him? Definitely not. Minus 140, though, I'd consider it. I probably won't, just because, I don't know, I try to be cautious with Contender Series. Like last week, I only bet 1 fight. I'm just trying to find winners here, so I don't think that I'm going to bet on this one. With the line, moving the way it's moving, maybe. It's definitely a possibility, but it's just not really a fight I'm super interested in betting at this point. But yeah, if I have to give a lean, I'm probably going to lean towards Aaron Jeffery here. Okay, here we go. Back in the lightweight division for one of my most anticipated fights of the whole year. And that is because Chris Duncan is involved, and he is one of my absolute favorite fighters. So I'm super excited to see him get this opportunity, and I will try to be as least biased as I possibly can, but let's get it out in the open. I'm a huge Chris Duncan fan, so keep that in mind here. But yeah, Manuel Gaxhje, undefeated prospect from Albania, 7-0 record, 71% finish rate. His opponent record, all combined of his 7 fights, is 2-5. So he has just 7 pro fights himself, and there's only 7 pro fights combined among all his opponents. He'll be the younger guy here at 24. I don't expect him to be fighting the best of the best at this point, but still, that's, kind of weak competition, relatively speaking. Gaxhje definitely has some slick striking. He's very accurate, has precise shots that add up. Doesn't look like the most powerful guy, but his striking is very crisp, very effective, and does carry some power, and he looks to be a pretty dynamic athlete as well. I believe that it's going to be a big step up from the competition that he's been fighting to fighting Chris Duncan here. Manuel was, fighting pretty consistently up to 2017. Did not see him in the year 2018. He was scheduled to face Adam Boric on Bellator that year, but it never ended up happening. I feel like Boric, I probably would have had the upper hand there. And, then we didn't see Gaxhje until 2019, so it was 2 years since he'd last fought, and he defeated a 1-2 guy in that spot. And now it's been another 2 years since that, and he is fighting not a 1-2 guy, he is fighting Chris Duncan, who is an undefeated Scottish prospect, 28 years old, should be the bigger guy in the cage. He's a big lightweight at 5'11". He has an identical record of 7-0, but he has a 100% finish rate with 6 knockouts, 1 submission. He had an 8-1 amateur career before turning pro. And in 2019, he fought for Bellator for the first time at Bellator 217 in Dublin. After that win, he goes to the Ultimate Fight League in Scotland, wins the 155-pound belt there, then goes back to Bellator for 2 more fights, finishes both of them. And his opponent combined record is 37-18, so way better competition than his opponent in this spot. And Duncan has finished every single one of those opponents, went 3-0 on Bellator, 3 knockouts. And including his amateur career, he's currently riding 14 straight wins. So I saw that he entered free agency a while ago, and I saw a couple people alluding to the fact that he'd probably be on Dana White's Contender Series, and lo and behold, here he is. I'm really excited to see him in this fight. He is stiff, low kicks, great presence, great control in the cage. He's very poised, but very dangerous. He knows when to go, and he knows just when to stalk his prey. He's got a nice left hook. He's very strong in the clinch, big for the weight, like I mentioned, and those combination punches against the cage are absolutely lethal. So I am admittedly biased towards Duncan, but I do really like him to win here. I think he has the vastly superior experience. I think he's going to look much bigger, and his physicality is such a factor in his fights that I really like that aspect of this matchup for him. Manuel Gaxhje is 24, so he could have made massive improvements in his time off, and there's no doubt that he's a solid prospect, but I see Chris Duncan coming forward and taking this one. They didn't give us much room to play with on the betting line. He opened minus 300. The best you can do now, let's just check. I think I'm at, or is it around, minus 330. So there's not a ton of wiggle room there, but where I'm probably going to look to target this one is on props. I think that there's definitely some good opportunities to make some money when they release those. I'm not sure if they're released yet at the time of recording, but hopefully they come out soon if they're not already out. I'm definitely going to be having a look at some Chris Duncan props in this bout. So we've now arrived at the main event of the evening, and it's a bout at light heavyweight. Should be a banger. It's between Lukasz Sudolski and Igor Poterya. Sudolski is an undefeated Polish fighter. He is 28 years old, 6'4", with a 77.5-inch reach. So he's a big guy. Most of his pro fights coming on Babylon. He has a 75% finish rate, lots of round 1 finishes, really big, really dense, and lots of power. But up until this point, he really hasn't fought anyone, that good. Let's be honest. Combined opponent record of 30-26, which is not horrible, but, it's not what we would consider high-level competition. He definitely looks the part, though. His last fight was contested at a catch weight of 214 pounds, and it's been pretty steady at 205 other than that. And looking at Poterya, he's also a big guy. He's a 19-2 Ukrainian fighter. Younger guy at 25, 79% finish rate. He can win by submission or by knockout. And he doesn't have a loss since 2017. The thing about Poterya that just kind of rubs me the wrong way in this breakdown is that he usually fights at 185. He's the middleweight champ in World Warriors FC. That's a Ukrainian promotion. He has a lanky frame as opposed to Sudolski's, kind of more bulky frame. And Poterya's last fight was fought at a 200-ish pound catch weight. It was like 198 pounds or something like that. And, I was talking about Sudolski's strength of schedule, so we have to bring up Igor's too. His combined opponent record is 74-83, so not the greatest either. Also not terrible either, but not the greatest. Neither guy has fought great competition. I might give a slight edge to Sudolski in that department. And this is another situation where we have maybe a better prospect who might not necessarily be the better fighter now. And Michael Morales last week showed that the hype was deserved, and he beat a really tough opponent. And if Poterya can do that here, it would be a similar situation in my opinion. I think that, Poterya might be the better prospect regardless of the result. And the thing is, though, I don't know if I'd say he's a better 205-pound prospect. Maybe overall he's a better prospect, but this guy, is normally a 185-pounder, and he's up here at 205 against a big 205er. And Sudolski, I just think Sudolski wins this one. We'll have to see what these guys look like at weigh-ins. Sudolski might look really big in this matchup. Poterya has the height for the weight class, so he could have filled out, his frame pretty well, but we'll have to wait and see. I think I'm going to lean towards Sudolski here, and I didn't get any leans toward any dogs here. I just couldn't quite get around to any of them on this card, guys. And, when I'm breaking down these cards, giving my predictions, I don't care who's the favorite. I don't care who's the dog. I just look at the fight and I say who's going to win. And you know what? Today, it happened to be, am I saying bet all the favorites? Definitely not. I don't think that we'll see every single favorite win. I think that, Lukasz Almeida has a shot. I think Poterya has a shot here too. Definitely, Borralho has a shot against Jeffery as well, but in terms of just a prediction, I just can't get there in any of the dogs this week. So I'll probably, I only had one bet last week. I probably won't have too many bets on this one, but yeah, go to BetMMA.tips, BetMMA.tips, /luckylocks, and you can see what picks I'll have, and I always tweet out all my picks as well, so follow me on Twitter at luckylocks, and that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone who likes, comments, subscribes, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day. Good luck with your bets, and as always, I will see you on the next one.